During my teenage years, I was in and out of detention for about 4.5 years. Most of my trouble started through fighting on the street and just not having confidence in myself and maybe not having any direction and not really clinging on to anything. I wasn't into school. The only thing I was really into was I wanted to fight, and I had a lot of aggression, and I really didn't look to the future. I honestly thought that that I wouldn't live to 21. I just kind of lived for today, and that was just about it.
In 1997, after his last run-in with the law, Tim was at a crossroads. He knew that even if he couldn't stop fighting, he could make his life worth fighting for.
The end result of me being in and out of trouble was laying in a hospital bed, strapped to the bed, with 26 stitches in my head. After that, I ended up in front of the judge. I was facing 2 years in jail. The judge gave me a 45-day sentence. During my 45 days, a deputy slid a book under my door. It was a KO magazine, and there was an article on Zab Judah and his trainer and father, Yoel Judah. What inspired me was his father was a 6-time world kickboxing champion, and Zab was the best in boxing. And I said that this is going to be my next dream, and I wanted to put all my martial arts together with some boxing and be a world champion. From that day on, that was my goal.
Within days of his release, Tim left Virginia and got on a train headed straight for Gleason's Gym, New York's boxing mecca. That's where he found world champion boxer Zab Judah and Yoel Judah, his father, trainer, and former kickboxing champ.
I was like, hey, my name's TimLane, I want you to train me. The response from Yoel was, I'll be with you in just a minute. And about an hour later, he said, oh, all right, come on over here, let me see you move around. So I started moving around, and he said, all right, you know, you have some skills, and I'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Tim soon found out that even though he received his black belt in modern karate 3 years before, a career in kickboxing would require full-time training, an exercise and focus that didn't leave much time for earning a paycheck.
When I was looking for jobs, I had to find a job that would go around my training, so I had odd jobs. My first job in New York was a job at Planet Hollywood, working the door, and then I went from there. I had another job working security at an after-hours place. I didn't really know what it was, but I did security, and then one day the police raided the place, and I got, put out on the street.
After finding more stable and legal work in security, Tim was able to divide his time between working and his intense training schedule. He made some noise in January 2000 when he knocked out the #1 welterweight championship contender, Tommy Rodriguez. At the same time, he realized that in the world of kickboxing, passion doesn't necessarily equal payday.
The average kickboxer, some people don't want to believe it, but the average boxer makes about the same. They make about $100 per round until you establish yourself and you have a following of people that want to come see you.
Now that Tim's life is in order, he's been able to make a solid career decision, one that will put him on the path to his title shot.
I would have to say what keeps me going is just the dream of one day hold my hands up with a belt and saying, tonight, I was the best in the world.
On his way up the ladder, Tim's found that even being the best in kickboxing doesn't guarantee financial freedom. So he's found a way to make kickboxing his full-time job.
I teach kickboxing day in, day out. I train day in, day out. Because my job and training are both the same thing, I feel like I can focus on it all the time. That's on my mind all the time.
For a sport that's scored by kicks and punches to the body and head, the monetary stakes are relatively low. And Tim knows that his long-awaited title fight might only pay relative to a few innings or quarters for your average pro athlete.
I'd say the biggest purse that I could win if I had a lot of people coming to watch me and say I was in Las Vegas or Atlantic City, the biggest purse would be maybe $25,000. Any aspiring kickboxers, just like any aspiring athlete, I would tell them to stay in school. I wish that I had stayed in school, but I didn't. I wasn't thinking right, and if I could tell anybody out there that loves fighting or loves any kind of sports, I would say stay in school because you have to have something to fall back on.
Very animated, TimLane.
Right now, Tim doesn't have plans to fall back on anything, especially canvas. He loves his job, and he's following his heart.
I think kickboxing has helped me put my life in perspective, and with discipline and with respect for others, I feel like the sky's the limit for me.